magical tools. So the first lunar mansion is al-sharatain, and this actually means the two signals. The two indicator stars are Beta and Gamma Arietis, which are located in the horns of the constellation that we call Aries. The lord of this lunar mansion is the sun, and the two stars have the planetary energies of Mars and Saturn. This lunar mansion is good for trying new things, making a change, travel, medicine, buying livestock, making weapons, planting, cutting hair or nails, new clothes, imagination, occult sciences, employment changes, active energy, and creation. And then the things that this lunar mansion is not very good for is partnership, marriage, hiring new employees. It has destructive powers, and it is also can coincide with depopulation. The next lunar mansion is butain, and this has the indicator star you can see right there of Delta Arietis. It's that star right there in the middle. This is the belly of Aries. The lord of this lunar mansion is the moon, and the planetary energies of Delta Arietis are Mercury and Saturn. Things that this lunar mansion is good for: honesty, tact and persuasion, finding treasure, reconciling with royalty, crowning kings, luck, maternal love, buying and selling, healing of illnesses, determination at work, and active resolution. There are some things that it's bad for, though. Forcing circumstances, marriage, hiring employees, and sea travel. So the third lunar mansion here is thurayya, and you can see from the card that we're talking about the Pleiades. So this is between Aries and Taurus. And the indicator star for this is Eta Tauri, which would be one of the stars within the Pleiades. The name Thurayya means the many little ones. The lord of this lunar mansion is Mars, and the stars have the planetary energy of the moon and of Mars. This lunar mansion is good for receiving favors and assistance, creative projects, trade, revenge, buying pets, hunting, fire, doing good works, acquisition, alchemy, water. It is a warning to sailors, but it can also be profitable for them. Science, the outdoors, love spells, and art, beauty, and creativity. So things that this lunar mansion is less favorable for: it can be a time of overindulgence. It's not great for traveling by water. So things that this lunar mansion is not very good for is overindulgence, traveling by water, marriage, partnerships, especially if there's a power dynamic involved between the two of you, buying livestock, planting, and also buying or trying on new clothes. So the next lunar mansion is dabaran, and that name does mean the follower. This is within the constellation of Taurus, and the indicator star is Alpha Tauri, which I think is right there next to the bull's eye. So the lord of this lunar mansion is Mercury, and its planetary energy is Mars. This lunar mansion is good for pursuing goals, for travel, planting new clothes, receiving feminine energies, demolishing a building, hiring employees, receiving honors, creating enmity, vengeance, separation, or if you need to heal something, it is a good time to administer medicine for that. Things that this lunar mansion is not good for is surrender, partnerships with a power dynamic, marriage, choppy waters, or the waters will be choppy rather. It's also not good for water travel, causes discord. It's not good for real estate, building, achieving goals, or when people have cross purposes to each other. The next lunar mansion is hakah, which means the white spot, or it's talking about the third eye. We're talking about these stars in the head of the constellation of Orion, and the indicator star would be Lambda Orionis, which is in the constellation of Orion. But this would be between Taurus and Gemini. So the lord of this lunar mansion is Jupiter, and the ruling planetary energies are Jupiter and Saturn. Some things that this lunar mansion is good for is problem solving, asking for a raise, seeking favor, intellectual pursuits, making wishes, setting intentions, travel, marriage, sending boys to study law, scripture, and writing, medicine, hiring employees, building, water, washing, cutting your hair or nails, because that is important also, having a safe return from journey, or moving, and then it's good for the thought and mind. Now, things that this lunar mansion is not good for is following the status quo, convincing someone to come and work for you, partnerships, planting. Any positive undertakings will be hindered. Associations and collective enterprises. The sixth lunar mansion is hanah, and this is the little star of great light, or a mark. The indicator star is Gamma Geminorum, which I think is right here in the foot of Gemini. The lord of this lunar mansion is Venus, and the ruling planets are Mercury and Venus. So things that this lunar mansion is good for is romance, social engagements, partnerships, negotiation, travel, declaration of war, siege, smiting enemies, ventures, honesty, hunting, or water with delays, and working spells. So if you're traveling by water, there could be delays, but it will still be a good trip. Things that this lunar mansion is not good for is loans or financial investments, planting, farm work, burial, medicine, treating wounds, new clothes, and attraction in this lunar mansion can quickly become repulsion. So keep an eye out for that. The next lunar mansion is located in the head of Gemini, but used to refer to the giant forearm of a lion constellation. So in the system in which the lunar mansions were created and developed, this was part of a lion constellation, and the dhira means the forearm. So the indicator stars for this lunar mansion are Alpha and Beta Geminorum. The lord of this lunar mansion is Saturn, and the planetary ruler of Alpha Geminorum is Mercury, and the planetary ruler of Beta Geminorum is the planet Mars. So, things that this lunar mansion is good for: romance, friendships, getting a job or raise, asking for or giving assistance, planting, new clothes, jewelry, cavalry, partnerships, washing or cutting your hair or nails, hiring employees, making peace. Voyages will be good, but there will be a delayed return. And then things that are inauspicious during this lunar mansion would be filing a lawsuit, having envy or spite for anyone. It says journeys here too, so probably journeys will just be delayed. Buying land, stopping taking your medicine is also not advised by this lunar mansion. Magistrates and law or justice. It's not a good time for magistrates or law or justice. So the next lunar mansion is Nathrah, and today this lunar mansion is part of the constellation of Cancer. This indicator star is 44M Cancri. But again, this was part of that gigantic lion constellation, and the name Nathrah means the gap. The indicator star 44M Cancri has the energies of Mars and the Moon, and the lord of this lunar mansion is the Sun. So, traits of this lunar mansion include achieving victory, challenges, medicine, new clothes, jewelry, rain, fast journeys, fellowship, driving away mice, navigation, and land travel. And then things that are inauspicious at this time would be peer pressure, surrender, marrying someone, hiring employees, or trying to enter into a partnership. The next lunar mansion is tarf. And not many of the lunar mansions are mostly inauspicious, but this is one of them. So tarf is the eyes of the lion. That is the star Lambda Leonis. And its ruling planetary energies are Saturn and Mars. And the lord of this lunar mansion is the moon. So this lunar mansion is about conserving energy, releasing things, forgiveness. It could be a time that creates infirmity, or you could use it to create infirmity in others. And it's a good time for creating discord. So things that are inauspicious during this lunar mansion would be scheduling, planting, marriage, hiring employees, travel. It indicates a negative answer to questions, and there are also possible misfortunes. The next lunar mansion we're going to talk about today is jabhah, and this refers to the brow of the lion. The indicator stars are Alpha, Zeta, and Eta Leonis, and the planetary energies of those stars are Mars and Jupiter. The lord of this lunar mansion, which is right between the constellations of Cancer and Leo, is Mars. So things that are auspicious for this lunar mansion, or auspicious to do: being brave, taking medicine, perseverance, partnerships, marriage, building, buying new clothing or trying it on, making jewelry, and planting. And then some of the things that are inauspicious during this lunar mansion: conflict, journeys, and trusting people. So be careful where you place your trust. The next lunar mansion that we will be talking about today is zubrah. And this lunar mansion is about the mane of the lion, even though the stars are kind of located in the legs of the lion. The indicator star is Delta Leonis, which is this star right next to my thumb. Right there. The planetary energy of that star is Saturn and Venus, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Mercury. So things that are good to do during this lunar mansion is building, investing, getting or giving a raise or promotion, scheduling, traveling, planting, taking siege, like sieging cities, partnerships, cutting your hair or nails, buying new clothing, commerce in general, marriage, power and respect, and courage or boldness. And then things that are not auspicious for this lunar mansion is petty disputes, rumors, navigation, women's health, and conflict. So it's a good time to avoid conflict, but it might also be a difficult time to avoid conflict as well. The next lunar mansion is sarfah, and the indicator star for this lunar mansion is Beta Leonis, which is right down here in the tail of the star. It's also called the nebula. The ruling planets of the nebula are Saturn and Venus, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Jupiter. So this lunar mansion is good for facing challenges, taking responsibility, planting, wearing new clothes or jewelry, travel, building, hiring employees, taking medicine. It's good for marriage, but it's also good for separating lovers, sending messages, and elevation of servants. So if you are a servant, like rising above that station and getting more for yourself in life. So things for which this lunar mansion is not auspicious: envy or jealousy. Delaying return voyages will be delayed. It's not good for sailors. It's not good for projection, hindrance, or constriction. So anytime somebody's trying to project things onto you or you onto them. The next lunar mansion we'll be talking about is awwa, which means the barking dog, and it refers to the wings of the constellation of Venus now. The indicator star for this lunar mansion is Beta Virginis, which is also called Java, and the ruling planets of that star are Mercury and Mars, and then the lord of this lunar mansion is Venus. And this lunar mansion is good for creativity, passions, romance, union of opposites, planting. It's good for hiring employees, also good for solving sexual problems. So things that this lunar mansion is not good for would be long-term commitment, surrender, travel will be delayed, and then if there are any charms that have been made against your potency in the bedroom, those will be weakened in this lunar mansion. The next lunar mansion is simak, the unarmed. You can see that this hand is holding a sheaf of wheat, right? So the indicator star for this lunar mansion is Alpha Virginis, and the ruling planets of that star are Venus and Mars. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is Saturn. So, things that are auspicious in this lunar mansion is moving or relocating, taking medicine, planting, divorce, traveling by the sea, or digging for, like, prospecting for minerals or things in the earth. And then things that are inauspicious during this time would be partnerships that are not strong. Those can be easily dissolved at this time. It's not good for bonding. It's not good for travel by land. And opposing forces will be driven apart at this time. So the next lunar mansion is kind of the hem of Virgo's tunic, but is the first lunar mansion of Libra. So that is ghafr, which means the covering, so the hem of her tunic here. The indicator star for this lunar mansion is Iota Virginis, and the ruling planets of that lunar mansion are Mercury and Mars. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is the sun. So things that are auspicious in this lunar mansion would be business goals, correspondence, meetings, scheduling, research, investments. It's a good time to cure wind illnesses, moving, doing good deeds, extracting treasure. It's a good time for divorce, attracting friendship, and it's a good time to protect your friends or hurt your enemies with spell work. So notice I said with spell work there, which is not ideal, but if you're going to cast a hex, you're going to want to know the best time to do it. Okay, so the things that are inauspicious to do at this time would be travel, social engagements, having partnerships, trying to cure illnesses, marriage, lending money, cutting your hair, and it is a time when discord is stirred. Friendship and goodwill and romantic love is also not auspicious at this time. Now, when they talk about cutting your hair and nails, I wanted to mention that the reason they're saying that is because those are things we call a tag lock that makes it easy to target you with spell work. So remember, when you are cutting your hair and nails, or if any of your body fluids are escaping at any time for any reason, that if people have these things, they will be able to form magical spell work to be effective against you. So just try to keep those things to yourself, obviously, unless you trust the people around you. The next lunar mansion is al-zubana or al-jubana, and that means the horns or pincers of Scorpio. And the indicator stars for this lunar mansion are Alpha and Beta Librae, so in the scales. The ruling planetary energies for those stars is Saturn and Mars. And the lord of this lunar mansion is the moon. So, things that are auspicious during this lunar mansion would be making investments, building wealth, negotiations, hiring employees, making money, livestock, speculation, and talismans for wealth. But then things that are not as favorable under this lunar mansion would be romance, travel, medicine, planting, wearing new clothing, getting jewelry made or buying jewelry, and also marriage. The next lunar mansion we will be talking about is iklil al-jabhah, which is like the crown of the Scorpio, the top part of the head, and the indicator stars for that are beta and delta Scorpii. And then the ruling planets of those stars is Mars and Saturn, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Mars. So what this lunar mansion is good for is conservation, protection from deception or loss, livestock, new jewelry, siege, like sieging cities, building. It's good for settling disputes, taking medicine, fostering love, improving your fortune, helping love to last, planting, navigation, and spells to strengthen conjugal relations. And then what this lunar mansion is not good for is risky behavior, being paralyzed by your fear. It's not very good for travel partnerships, marriage, again, cutting your hair, or hiring new employees. So kind of notice that the things go along with periods of strife are not particularly good for cutting your hair, hiring new employees, marriage, partnerships, etc. The next lunar mansion is qalb, which means the heart. And they're talking about the heart of Scorpio, as scaly and beautiful as it is. So the indicator star for this lunar mansion is Alpha Scorpii, and the ruling planets of that star are Mars and Jupiter. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is Mercury. This lunar mansion is good for starting a health regimen, getting a medical appointment, surgery, building, receiving honors. It's good for having a rainstorm. It's good for an eastward journey. It's good for planting, medicine, and even for expelling serpents. And then this lunar mansion is inauspicious for overindulgence. It's not a good time to fire employees. It's not a good time to wear new clothes or cut your hair. It's not a good time for partnership. It is a ripe environment for discord and sedition. And it's also not a good time to give birth to a baby. And it's a bad time for stomach problems. Or, a good time for things to cause problems in your stomach. But it's a bad time for your stomach in general. The next lunar mansion is shaulah, which is the tail of Scorpio. And the indicator stars of this lunar mansion are Lambda and Upsilon Scorpii. And the ruling planets of those stars is Mercury and Mars. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is Jupiter. So things that are auspicious under shaulah are discernment, taking a stand, again, sieging cities, dispute, planting, facilitating birth, inducing menstruation, and hunting. So it's a good time then to give birth to a baby. So then things for which shaulah is not auspicious is going to be trust, marriage, traveling. If you travel, you could be shipwrecked, or much worse in this day and age, right? It's not a good time to fire employees. It's not a good time for partnerships, and it is a ripe environment for loss or sadness. So the next lunar mansion is Al-Na'am, which is the beam, and talks about the bow and arrow of Sagittarius. And the indicator stars for this lunar mansion are Zeta and Sigma Sagittarii. So the planetary energies of those stars is Mars, the Moon, and Jupiter. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is Venus. So things that are auspicious to do under this lunar mansion: there's setting intentions, seeking answers, concentration, buying animals, rain, hunting, obviously, taming beasts, compelling a man to come to a certain place, so it's a good time to do spell work if you want to control people's movements, strengthening prisons, building, asking favors, alliance, and sensual fulfillment. And then this is an inauspicious time for laziness, distraction, partnerships. It destroys the wealth of societies. Marriage, it's not a good time for that. And it's also not a good time for unruly passions. So be very careful with that. So the next lunar mansion is baldah, which means the city. And we don't know the ruling planets for the stars of this lunar mansion, but the indicator star of this lunar mansion is Pi Sagittarii. And it's kind of back here toward the back of his head. And it's supposed to depict a city behind Sagittarius, like over their shoulder. The lord of this lunar mansion is Saturn. And this lunar mansion is a good time for closure. It's a good time to resign from your job. It's a good time for divorce, building, planting, buying land or livestock. It's a good time for clothing and jewelry. It's a good time for harvesting, money, travel, taking medicine, navigation, and for protecting one's home. Now, things that are not auspicious under baldah would be weak arrangements, partnerships, marriages. There are a lot of destructive forces at work, and there's a lot of division, and people are at odds. The next lunar mansion is Sad al-Dhabih, which is the lucky one of the slaughterers, the good fortune of slaughter. And the indicator stars for this lunar mansion are Alpha and Beta Capricornii, and the ruling planetary energies of those stars is Venus and Mars. And then the lord of this lunar mansion is the Sun, and this lunar mansion is good for quick action, freedom, medicine, travel, new clothes, profitable partnerships, and ending gossip and making alliances. So, things that are inauspicious in this lunar mansion would be resistance to change, holding on to your bad habits, captivity, engagement, hiring employees, and lending money. The next lunar mansion is Sad al-Bula, which is the good fortune of the swallower, or fortune of the glutton. The indicator star for this lunar mansion is Epsilon Aquarii, so it's kind of like out here in the hand part of the constellation of Aquarius. The ruling planets of this star are Mercury and Saturn, and the lord of this lunar mansion is the moon. So things that this lunar mansion is good for would be removing impediment. It's good for medicine, clothing, jewelry, healing sickness, divorce, planting, leading armies, doctors, politicians, soldiers, and separation. And then things that are not auspicious under this lunar mansion would be social gatherings, barriers. it's a time when things waste away. There's marriage, children, contracts, causes conflict. Opposites will be repelled from each other. People end up in the wrong situations, and there is a devouring force. So Saad al-Sud is kind of like between the tail of Capricorn here and the upper torso and head of Aquarius. The indicator star for this lunar mansion is Beta Aquarii. Beta Aquarii. And, the name means luckiest of the lucky. The indicator star of Beta Aquarii has the ruling planetary energies of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury. And the lord of this lunar mansion is Mars. So this is a wonderful time to ask for support. It's a good time for self-care, taking medicine, sending armies, increasing herds, marital understanding. It's a good time to cast wish spells, nurturing and nutrition, desire fulfillment, multiplication of opportunities, good luck and fertile proliferation. And then this lunar mansion is inauspicious for merchandise, jewelry, new clothes, partnerships, marriage, causes, disobedience. So people become disobedient. It prevents the execution of government, and it's not very good for sea travel. The next lunar mansion is Saad al-Ahbiyah. So that's the lucky star of hidden things, and we're talking about Alpha and Gamma Aquarii, which are inside the bucket of Aquarius. The ruling planets of these indicator stars are Saturn and Mercury, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Mercury. So this lunar mansion is good for patience, divine timing, taking siege of cities, quarrels, pursuing or harming enemies. It's a good time to send messages, a good time to take a southern journey, hire employees, build, protect orchards. It's a good time for revenge, stability, protection, and growth. And then this would be an inauspicious time for forcing circumstances, for frustrations, feeling frustrated and not being patient. It's a bad time for marriage, delays, partnerships, impotence. It can hinder childbirth or other bodily functions, so this would be the time to do spell work for that. And then it can also cause barrenness. I mean, it's not causing barrenness, but it can be a time that is exceptionally tough for being barren. So the next lunar mansion is Fargh al-awwal. So this is about the upper spout of a crockery, a water container, but actually the star, the indicator star, is Alpha Pegasi and is located in the constellation of Pegasus. And the ruling planets of that indicator star are Mars and Mercury, and then the lord of this lunar mansion is Jupiter. So the upper spout has to do with like prospering and good things coming in. It is auspicious for romance, social engagements, inspiration, art and beauty, building, hiring employees, creating love, aiding in union, planting, protection, bargaining, subtle attraction, and benevolence. And then this lunar mansion is not auspicious for travel by sea. There will be delays. It's not auspicious for partnerships or marriage or navigation, and it can destroy prisons and other buildings, so it wouldn't be good for incarceration either. The next lunar mansion is Fargh al-Thani, and that is referring to the lower lower spout. So rather than a lower spout, you could think of it like a crack through which water would leak out. And the indicator stars of al-fargh, al-thani are Gamma Pegasi and Alpha Andromedae. The ruling planets of these stars are Mars and Mercury, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Venus. So this lunar mansion is favorable for an ebb and flow of energy. It's good for planting, trading, harvest, revenue. It's good for healing illness. It's good for destroying enemies. It's also good for marriage and friendship. Things that it's not good for would be attachment, outcome, trust, lending. It has partnership here, so partnership as opposed to marriage. Spells for destroying springs of water would be effective at this time. It's not good for building, sailors, travel, real estate, and it can cause ruin of resources. And then the final lunar mansion we will be talking about today is Batn al-Hut, which means belly of the fish. The indicator star of this lunar mansion is Beta Andromedae. The ruling planet of that star is Venus, and the lord of this lunar mansion is Saturn. So Batn al-Hut is auspicious for celebrating the completion of tasks. It is good for joy, building community, trade, planting, medicine, harvests, commerce, safety of travelers in dangerous places, marital harmony, travel, taking purgatives, and realization of potential. So things that this lunar mansion would not be ideally suited for would be partnerships, hiring employees, and loss of treasure. Notice with like the last couple of lunar mansions, we talked about how they might be auspicious for marriage, but not be auspicious for business dealings. So all's fair in love and war, right? Thank you for joining me today while I talk about the lunar mansions. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.